Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of Lab Bytes. I'm Jamie from Carbon, and this is the series that we're doing where I just have conversations with different industry professionals, and we're lucky enough today to have Mr. Bennett Napier here. We're going to chat about the state of the industry and just lots of stuff. So, Bennett, would you mind introducing yourself to all these people?
All these people. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's an honor and privilege to be with you, Jimmy, and look forward to sharing some tidbits with you. And just some kind of just personal background, professional background for me. I've been involved in the dental arena since 1994. I actually started out, most people don't know, but I started out on the hygiene side, working with the Florida Dental Hygiene Association, and then transitioned to the lab world in the late 90s and been in this arena ever since. So it's been a great journey for me, great community, as we all know, and just wonderful people. So I've enjoyed this journey and look forward to the conversation.
Well, when I think about you, I just think about somebody who's so connected in the industry. I mean, you have so many connections with labs of all sizes and also vendors, marketing teams. It's just, you're an amazing resource, and we really appreciate what you do.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the job as NADL is just to be a conduit. Just bring the right people together, but based on what their needs are, and kind of that's what I do operationally. At the same time, just getting people together and trying to make sure that they can find solutions for their challenges or opportunities. So.
Well, that's a great segue. Let's talk about that. So, from your purview, like, what do you see? I know this could be a 3-hour conversation alone, but wanted to get your thoughts on state of the industry overall, trends. What are some of the things that are top of mind for the labs that you're interacting with today?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to give a little bit of history because I think it's important to answer the question. So this 2026 is NADL's 75th anniversary. It's Cal Lab's 100th anniversary.
That's right.
So, I bring that up just because some of the things that we've been able to look back on, some of the things that the industry was looking at back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and with how they handle those challenges and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then going fast forward to where we are today, everybody says, well, but we've been through these cycles before. I think the moment of time that we're all in right now is clearly different.
Yeah.
And not just for us, but everybody in U.S. society, as the demographics are so different in terms of on the clinical side and the lab side, how many people are getting ready to retire, and just obviously the external forces and things of that nature. So, some of the factors and things that are affecting us, we've never seen before because we've not been there. And so I think that's the difference is, we've gotten through cycles, and this industry's always adapted, and we'll do it again. But I think we just have to be cognizant that the outcomes, if you will, in the next probably 5 to 7 years are going to look vastly different in terms of market share changes, and both on the supply side, on the lab side. It's been a long time coming that we would have a small number of providers, if you will, that owned some significant market share. But I think we're there and getting ready to see that really shift.
Yeah, a lot more disruption than I've seen. And to that point, the consolidation of labs, right, or just the trend of fewer labs in the industry, and it's about 2.5% per year, right? We've seen over the last
it's been
decade.
A slow drip, but the pace is picking up, and everybody knew it was coming. It just didn't know when.
Yeah.
And economic conditions, just obviously the insurance reimbursement issues with DSOs, all those types of things are all playing into it. And so, I mean, I think what we've seen in the last COVID, we had a really quick rebound, if you will, coming out of COVID. But I'll talk about kind of just the state of dentistry and the labs in the general sense that. Yeah. On the medical side, they came back much faster and higher percentage growth. We came out well in that too, but then it kind of plateaued and then came back down. So in some real numbers, one of the presentations that was at Cal Lab this year, just put it in real terms, we're basically down in $1 billion of sales, and that's on the U.S. lab market. So that's
excuse me. Yeah. So overall, the U.S. lab market, $1 billion of sales less.
Yes, decline. Yeah, and so that's once you put it in that context, then you can say, okay, why is the consolidations picking up?
Yeah,
that's why. Clearly, I mean, that's just what a natural outcome.
So let's talk about that. So what do you think? Most labs, in my role, it's cool. I get to interact with hundreds of labs, and not just in the U.S., but around Europe. Most labs have reported to me for the last couple of years, but really for the last year, our annual revenue is year over year, based on any month. You pick the month out of the calendar, is flat or slightly down, depending on the product segment. Or they'll say, maybe All on X is the only thing that's really doing well for us, or our zirconia is down. What do you think some of the factors are why so many labs are reporting kind of flat year-over-year annual revenue growth? Is it, do you think it's disruption, political turmoil? Do you think it's just lack of discretionary spending on the consumer side?
Yeah. We all know we're tied at the hip with our dental clients, and they're down. So their practice revenue's down. The average salary for GPs is down. Something's got to give. Their costs are going up just like ours. Labor costs, labor shortages, material and equipment costs, depending on what they're involved in. So all of that, and I just looking at some of the kind of the data points that I'm a data person, but kind of historically we always said, okay, the lab bill should be maybe between 8 to 15% of the GP's practice, and now you've got some people out there saying no, you got to get it down to 3. Yeah. Again, wow. That cause and effect is real, and so when you've got that's what you're facing. Yeah. And we're no different. Our labor costs are going up. Technician wages continue to go up. Last year about up 9%. So that's a difficult hurdle to get over.
Yeah, Bennett, sometimes I'll reach out to him and you'll provide me with some of that data and stats, which I appreciate so much, to share with labs. The most telling thing for me is if you look at 2020 versus now, according to the Department of Labor, yeah. Right? An employee of a dental lab makes $10,000 a year more on average than they did in 2020, and that is just crunching.
It's staggering.
Labs.
Yeah.
What are some of the labs that you're talking to? How are they battling that, or how are they combating?
Hope and a prayer, but no. You have to obviously everything you have to do have a plan, but there's certainly talent retention and recruitment has always been important, but it's crucial now, and it's just I think the biggest issue is. Again, partnerships, finding strategic partners on the supplier side that not only from a product standpoint or technology standpoint, but those people who can give you kind of business guidance, those people are at a premium just to help make sure you've got, whether it's internal or external board of advisors, if you will, to kind of look at everything in total and say, okay, are we prepared for what's coming and what we're living through, and how do we handle it? And so it's no different than any time before, but just I think there's just the headwinds are very much different from what we've seen. I talked to a number of people last year, and we're like, hey, are we in 2008, 2009? Because it feels like that. Yeah. And I said yes at the time, but I think what's changed is the length of time in terms of kind of the sales growth. I think we're going to be in a longer kind of plateau than maybe we expected. Yeah. And that's people are going to have to ride that out. Yeah. But and I know it's not all negative because clearly the growth is there, it's coming, and certainly there are market opportunities clearly for the lab industry, and the labs that are ready for it. They're growing at a very high pace. So it's not everybody. There's winners and losers like in any kind of cycle, but right now people can really grow if they're poised to seize.
Right, and there's no shortage. We look at patient demographics. We know there's no shortage of dental care that's needed. Right. And luckily, we're in a profession where we serve those patients via those dentists. So, what do you see some of the labs using technology-wise, or when you walk the floor, you're around here for a couple of days, because we're actually doing this interview at LMT Chicago. Yeah. What technology is jumping out to you? Kind of.
Not obviously be product or brand specific, but just in general. Digital is here. It's clearly here, and just looking at all the data points the industry reports in terms of utilization of 3D printers and how people are using software, or the software companies keeping up with what we need in terms of data collection, but also how the data is reported and how you're able to use it to act on it. Mm-hmm. So I think there's just a laser focus on kind of all that aspect of the supply chain, that the resources that you have are both equipped to capture what you need, but also can work together if you're using multiple platforms and stuff like that. How do you not only have the data, but how do you get it in a position where you can look at it in total and act on it? Right. And I think that's where everybody's kind of laser focused to do that. And AI is going to clearly help get us there in some respects, probably faster, which is good. Yeah. And so, I think in spite of everything that's a challenge, there's so much movement, if you will, to be able to manage that data and hone that data and use it and execute on it very quickly, as opposed to having to wait, I got to wait a month or a quarter to figure out what things look like. I can do this real time and make pivots much quicker. Yeah, and sharpening the focus on how do we run our labs like a business versus, maybe, within a couple decades ago, more of just we're really good craftsmen. Yeah.
artisan, you know, and now it's like if we don't have that business acumen, that's really what's kind of separating the ones who are having success and the ones that are really struggling. I think one of the last things I'll ask you is what are some things that NADL is doing? How's the NADL a resource? I have been fortunate enough to serve on a couple different NADL boards, which I really appreciate. So I know from the inside perspective, but what could you share with anybody who's watching
well,
this?
personally, first, thank you serving as a volunteer. I mean, and you've been obviously chair of NBC and on NADL board and involved in committees over the years. So, and it is, you know, NADL is run by volunteers. You have a day-to-day staff, which includes me, that are managing and executing the plan, but the volunteers set the policy and the direction. So, appreciate all of your service there.
Thank you.
I mean, I always say it's the three-legged stool. So it's NADL, NBC, and the FDLT. So NADL is the advocacy arm, NBC is the certification arm, FDLT is our educational charitable arm. And so each have their own board working congruently with each other to basically make this a better place, you know, for everybody here now and in the future. So I think as kind of the topics you addressed earlier, some of the two big things I would bring, you know, as far as our strategic plan is workforce development, just making sure, like one component of what we're focused on is making sure with social media targeting to bring people into the profession.
Right,
awareness that we exist.
Yeah.
Because I mean, on the plus side, when you've got digital workflow and the technology that's, you know, everybody is living in now, we've got the ability to attract a different type of individual into our industry than maybe we were probably 5 to 10 years ago for sure.
Yeah.
And the wages are competitive with other sectors now. So again, that's a plus in the long term. You know, on the kind of the advocacy side, you know, one thing I've kind of focused on just at the board level is talking about what does our customer look like now? I know in your career you focused a lot on DSOs and what those group trends are.
Yeah.
But I also look at it, not only there's probably going to be more chairside technicians, whether, you know, just working chairside and or chairside technicians working in the practice setting, but also, you know, for a lab is the dentist our only customer. And so one thing I've focused on, you know, is just, you know, as a reference point is called dental therapist. You know, so you're going to have somebody in the mix of the supply chain now as our dental therapist as that expands in certain states where they have the ability, scopal practice, to do certain restorative work. All right, now I've got a dentist and now I've got dental therapist clients, you know, those type of things. You know, what's that supply chain look like? So, you know, it's how we interact with that customer and what their needs are is going to look different too. No different than what we have with DSOs. So I think just people have to understand, like, it's, you know, the supply chain and who we're interacting with and who we're selling to and what we're selling them is going to look different, you know, and I think that's going to be an emerging area of change for us.
Yeah, and how labs adapt and adjust to that is key. Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for your time. I know you're really busy, and I appreciate your insights. And you know, we could literally, this could be a 3-hour chat. We know that, but with the attention spans we have today, we'd be, you know, putting
30-second soundbite.
Yeah. But you know, just for fun, Bennett and I share a love of heavy metal. You might not know it by looking at him, especially. Yeah. But he looks very, you know,
polished,
professional. But very polished.
I try to. Anyway.
Yeah. Best concert you've ever been to, hands down.
Yeah. I think you asked me this once. We were actually at a Guns N' Roses concert. I think you asked me that, and I mean, I have to look at it from so many different angles, but I think probably just memorable because it is Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
It was, I think that was I'm trying to think, Somewhere in Time tour.
Yeah.
And just, you know, just their stage show is just out of the, you know, just crazy.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just, especially, I watch them play globally, you know, and what their crowds look like in different parts of the world.
Just huge.
The U.S. is a little bit more subdued from the rest of the, you know, South Americans and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But their stage show, they're just such a machine.
Yeah.
And just that, and having Eddie come up on stage is pretty cool. So, you know, I'd still have to put that up there just because it's just, there's nobody been able to replicate quite like them in that context. Yeah.
I agree. I think just the level of their production and then how tight they can still play for doing that big of a show.
I mean, they're a machine. They're top-notch musicians in their own right, obviously, but how they work collectively and just the brand.
Yeah.
I mean, Kiss obviously had a brand, but they took it kind of in a different path.
Yeah.
But they've made some pretty good money along the way.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really
Thanks,
appreciate
Jamie.
it, Bennett.
Pleasure.
Yeah. And thank you all for watching. We really appreciate you too. See you next time.
Thank you.
you.